Hare Krishna.
Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Shri Mati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devam Gauravani Prachadane Nirvise Sasunyavadi Askyacha Deshatarane Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Adishi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare. So we have, as a group, we have been focusing on some different prayers because these prayers are very significant to the development of our Krishna consciousness. These prayers are, what's the word I'm looking for? They are supplementary or they're complementary to the Hare Krishna mantra. And these prayers, and when I say these, I mean before this today, we covered the prayers by Lord Chaitanya. We covered the Isopanishad prayers. And all these prayers are in glorification of Lord Krishna. So as bhaktas of Lord Krishna, our sole focus is Krishna. And so any prayers that are done by pure devotees or through the through Upanishads or Puranas are very beneficial for developing our Krishna consciousness. Plus, we can learn these prayers. And by learning them, just like you did earlier, Tatiana was actually, she was speaking or saying one of the Srimad Bhagavatam verses. And by the way, Tatiana, that's what we did and maybe still do. But in the early days of ISKCON, all of us together, before Bhagavatam class began, we recited about 3 or 4 of those early verses together. And like Nasta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. I have not looked at that prayer in 30 or 40 years, but I didn't forget it. And that's what happens with these prayers. I can say most of these Upanishad prayers, it'll happen for you too. They become part of your psyche, part of your being, because they're not ordinary prayers. They're very filled with potency because they describe and they glorify God. So they're very potent. So today we're going to learn and repeat some of the very famous prayers by Lord Brahma. So a little background. These are the Govindam prayers, which you probably know. We say every morning before we greet the deities, and as we're greeting the deities. So we're offering our obeisances and we're saying these beautiful prayers. The prayers that you hear in the temple were originally, they were sung by Jamuna Devi, and that actual prayer that she sung was the music, and the compilation was done by George Harrison of the Beatles. So every single temple in ISKCON all across this whole planet, we say those prayers when we greet the deities in the morning, the Govinda prayers. Now, what are these Govindam prayers? Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. All of the except for the first verse, all of the other verses end in the Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami, every single verse. Who spoke these beautiful verses, these prayers? They were spoken by Lord Brahma. And in a book that is called the Brahma Samhita, or the Songs or Prayers of Lord Brahma. And this Lord Brahma is our Lord Brahma in this universe. Our Lord Brahma has 4 heads, and he is a very, very great devotee. He's a pure devotee of Lord Krishna. Our sampradaya begins with Lord Brahma, Brahma Gauriya Sampradaya. So the Brahma Sampradaya. So there's 4 different sampradayas, Vaishnava sampradayas. We are in the Brahma Sampradaya. And in this Brahma Sampradaya, Lord Chaitanya is part of our Brahma Sampradaya. He appeared and he is in our Brahma Sampradaya. So from Brahma all the way down to Lord Chaitanya, it was called the Brahma Sampradaya. Once Lord Chaitanya, who was Krishna himself, came, it became known as the Brahma Gaudiya Sampradaya. So we are Gaudiya Vaishnavas. So Gaudiya Vaishnava means that we worship, as our ultimate form of worship, we worship Lord Krishna in Vrindavan. And the pastimes associated with Krishna in Vrindavan, that is our goal. That is our destination. Because when you do yoga, you always want to have a goal. Yoga means, to focus on a specific planet, a specific mantra which identifies a planet. Now, nowadays, people don't know that about yoga. They don't understand yoga. Most people just do yoga for exercise. And some people meditate, but they don't understand. And if they want to get a better understanding, they can read Prabhupada's book called Easy Journey to Other Planets. Easy Journey to Other Planets. Prabhupada wrote that book in 1955, before he even came to America. It was one of the first books he wrote. And in that book, he describes that through the practice of yoga, you can attain different destinations. Some yogis will want to attain the moon planet, where they can have like a moon body or a subtle body that allows them to live on the moon. And then they can enjoy somaras. Somaras is a beverage that intoxicates. So the moon planet is actually a heavenly planet. So yogis may go there to live a longer life and enjoy, somaras drink and these heavenly delights. So the idea behind yoga is to go from a lower place to a higher place. Then there's some yogis that practice Surya yoga, where they want to live on the same planet as Surya, or the fire god. But in Krishna consciousness, we're not interested in demigod mantras or demigod worship. We're not interested in attaining a demigod planet. We're not interested in Durga, Indra, Shiva, any of the demigods, because in Krishna consciousness, we are doing pure bhakti yoga. Our goal is to attain Krishna in Vrindavan, and he is a fully transcendental personality. Any other demigod worship, you get benefit, material benefit, subtle benefit, siddhis, powers, but then you must come back. So we're not interested in coming back. We want to make a permanent solution to our life. We want to go on to the spiritual planet of God and enjoy a life with God. So Lord Brahma, when in one of the pastimes in the Krishna book, in one of the pastimes, Lord Brahma, he went to the planet of Lord Krishna, and he wanted to play a joke on Krishna. So he saw the cowherd boys and the cows that were grazing, because Krishna, every day, he goes to the pasture grounds, in the beautiful pasture grounds near Govindam Hill, to graze the cows and to play with the cowherd boys and to eat lunch with the cowherd boys. So Lord Brahma saw the cowherd boys and the cows, but he didn't see Krishna. Krishna was not there. So he thought he would play a joke. So he stole. Hari Bol, Natalia. Hari Krishna.
Hari Krishna. Thank you for letting me join this beautiful Katha.
Jai.
Jai.
Jai. So we're just talking about the Lord Brahma and this Brahma Mohan, or this pastime of Lord Brahma. And so Lord Brahma, he stole the calves and cowherd boys because he has great power. Lord Brahma is extremely powerful. He has 4 heads. He's very, very powerful individual. He's the most powerful jiva in the entire universe. So he thought he was very powerful, and he stole the calves and cowherd boys from Krishna. So he didn't think Krishna would know. That's crazy. I mean, Krishna is omniscient. He knows everything. So when these cowherd boys and cows were gone, he knew what would happen. He knew what happened. And so he himself expanded and became the cows and the cowherd boys. And so for 1 year, he remained as the cowherd boys. Krishna, he expanded. And so when these cowherd boys went back to their home at the evening to be with their mothers were extremely affectionate to their sons. And they couldn't understand why. They couldn't understand why. So normally their mothers, of course, love their cowherd boys, their sons. They love them very much. Of course, love for Krishna is even more. But they were their sons, and they loved them. But now they had a special affection that they never had before. And they were just pouring milk out of their breasts for their sons, and they just couldn't understand this extreme love. How did it happen? They didn't know that their son actually was Krishna. They become Krishna because Krishna expanded. Like, you can see how these different pastimes, how they have different meanings and they affect people in different ways, right? They have multiple meanings, and we learn about all these things because they're all very relishable to learn. So the mothers now had the opportunity to have Krishna in the form of their own son, not even knowing. And for the entire year, they were having this wonderful ras with their son, who they loved very, very much because it was Krishna. So at the end of the year, Lord Brahma came back, and he saw even though he was keeping the calves and cowherd boys with him in a cave away from Krishna's observation, when he came back, he actually saw the calves and cowherd boys. So he was bewildered, Lord Brahma. He couldn't understand how they were calves and cowherd boys that he had taken. So Krishna bewildered him. And so when Krishna came before Lord Brahma, Lord Brahma could see and feel that the Lord was more potent than he was. And he could understand that Krishna was God. He was greater than himself. And he could understand, oh my God, here is God. I didn't know that this Krishna was God. And he put his foreheads down, he had four heads down to the ground. He offered his respectful apologies and obeisances, and he said so many prayers he spoke, because that usually what happens when you're in front of God. All these beautiful prayers start pouring out of you, they pour out of you. And you can read all these different prayers from great devotees who see Krishna, and they just have these beautiful prayers. And so Lord Brahma spoke these beautiful prayers, Govindam Adi Purusham prayers, that we're going to read in a second. And so that is what we call in legal language, what we call prima facie. This is prime evidence for us as Vaishnavas of the existence of Krishna and who he is. We depend on the definitions and the observations and the prayers of pure devotees. They are seeing Krishna directly, and they are speaking the pure observation of Krishna. So we require this evidence for ourselves. Otherwise, we're not seeing God. How are we going to know God? So God says, he can say so many things about himself, but we may not believe him. But when his devotee speaks, we can believe that. And so this evidence of Lord Brahma is what we call prima facie. It's primary, first top level evidence. Now, this Brahma Samhita was lost. It was lost for the entire time of the universe, never seen by anyone. But when Lord Chaitanya came, he was on his tour of South India, and he came to the house of a Brahmin. And that Brahmin he was the only one that had the Brahma Samhita, that book, this book that Lord Chaitanya, he came into the house, and being omniscient, he said he first, gave the Brahmin his association. The Brahmin knew who he was. He was able to understand by the Lord's mercy who he was. And so the Lord said, oh, do you have any special books here I should be aware of? And of course, the Brahmin said, yes, I'm keeping this one special book called Brahma Samhita. It's the prayers of Lord Brahma. Now, these prayers of Lord Brahma are the 5th chapter. So there's many chapters of the Brahma Samhita, but no other chapters were discovered. The Brahmin only had the chapter 5 of the Brahma Samhita. And we don't even know how he got them. But Lord Chaitanya, the Brahmin, gave this to Lord Chaitanya as a gift. And Lord Chaitanya then revealed this to the Gaudiya Vaishnava community. Now, another point of interest before we go into these prayers is that Lord Chaitanya, when he came, many demigods took birth along with Lord Chaitanya at that time because they wanted to experience this particular love of Radha and Krishna, which they were not able to have previously. This is such a rare opportunity. And if you go through all the different expansions of Krishna and the incarnations of Krishna and all the Vedic literature, you'll never, ever read about this love of Radha Krishna that Lord Chaitanya gave. It's extremely rare. It's extremely confidential. And so you have these different demigods, even Lord Shiva and Parvati, his wife, they are in Gora Lila. They are in Gora Lila. They are devotees in Gora Lila. They came because you have to take birth at that time in order to associate with the Lord, to become part of his family or extended family. Now, Lord Brahma, he also took birth during Gora Lila, and he is known as Haridas Thakur. So Haridas Thakur is Lord Brahma, and Haridas Thakur is known as Namacharya, meaning he is the greatest chant. He's the Acharya of the holy name. And Haridas Thakur, when Lord Brahma took birth as Haridas Thakur in a Muslim family, he did it because he wanted to let me think of the right words. He wanted to do penance. Maybe that's the right term. He wanted to apologize to Krishna for that pastime where he stole the calves and cowherd boys. So when he took birth as Haridas Thakur, he vowed to chant 300,000 names of the Lord every single day. Now, how many names do we chant every day? Now, Alexandra, I know you're a very bright young lady. Could you tell us how many? No calculations, Alex. Hands free. That's right. Hands up. How many names do we chant a day if we do 16 rounds?
So 16 rounds times 108 at 32,000?
No. 16,000, right?
16,000.
Yeah, that's how many we're chanting. Now, during Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's time, he wanted all of his disciples to chant 64 rounds. So that would be 4 times 16,000, or closer to 65,000 names a day. Now, Prabhupada realized we couldn't do that because we're kind of new devotees. We don't have that kind of adhikar. And so he did. At first, he wanted us to chant 64 rounds. And then the devotees were going, "Oh, Prabhupada, we can't do that. It's too much. I can't do that. It's 8 hours worth of chanting." And actually, Bhaktisiddhanta said, if we're not chanting 8 hours a day, we're considered fallen. So I'm not telling you to chant 64 rounds a day because Prabhupada did not require that. So first Prabhupada said, okay, I want you to chant 64. And everyone said, oh, no, Prabhupada, we cannot do that. It's just too much complaining. So Prabhupada said, okay, 32 rounds. And again, oh my God, I won't be able to get my service done, Prabhupada. I can't. Okay, 16, and that's my bottom line, Prabhupada said. So that's how we established 16 rounds in ISKCON. 16 rounds is the bottom line. But on some occasions where there's like Krishna's birthday or some special occasion, Ekadasi, or any other occasion where we're fasting, especially, if you can increase your rounds, that would be very beneficial. So Haridas Thakur chanted 300,000, 3 lakhs of rounds a day. And he would not eat until he finished his rounds. I know, that's like off the charts, right? He would not touch anything until after. He was so humble, he wouldn't even go see Lord Jagannath, and he was in Orissa. He wouldn't go see Lord Jagannath because he felt contaminated as an individual. He felt so low. And Lord Chaitanya, when he visited him, Haridas was he was the jewel of all the Vaishnava community. And Lord Chaitanya, when he visited him, Haridas was so low, felt so low. and tears would come out of his eyes, that Lord Chaitanya said he would make Lord Chaitanya cry because of his humility. He would make Lord Chaitanya cry. And he just said, Haridas, you don't have to chant that many rounds. You don't have to. But Haridas chanted like that every single day, 300,000 rounds. And the example that he set is extremely high. So he did this in the most humble way because he wanted to apologize to the Lord for that particular pastime, which I think is an amazing. And if you want to read about humility and how these pure devotees are humble like that, also you can read about Raghunath Das Goswami, because Raghunath Das Goswami also felt himself so low that he would not take prasadam with the other devotees. Instead, he went, from the temple itself, there was a river that flowed away from the temple, and whatever prasadam was left over from the Vaishnavas eating, if there was anything left over, they put it in the river. So it would go downstream, and then maybe the fish would eat it and whatever. And Raghunath situated himself downstream so that when these morsels came downstream, he grabbed the morsels, and that's what he lived on. That's what he lived on. One day, Lord Chaitanya, knowing this, because he's omniscient, he came to that river behind the temple, and he saw in the distance Raghunath Das Goswami eating the leftover rice that was going down the river, that was basically for the fish. And he walked over to him, and immediately Raghunath Das Goswami paid his full dandavats, completely stretched out. And when he got up, the first thing Lord Chaitanya said to him was, Raghunath, you're eating this beautiful feast and you haven't invited me? So that's the humility that our pure devotees have, that we can take great pleasure in hearing about. So now today, we're going to increase our Krishna consciousness tenfold from what it was yesterday by, if I can see, if I can get over here. Oh, here, okay. Here we go. Okay, so we're going to read these prayers and we're going to do them together, but we're going to learn them a little bit. There's only a few prayers. And so let's see how we'll do this. I will say a line, you'll repeat it. I'll say a line, you repeat it. And then we can say it together. And then we'll go over what the verse is. Now, these prayers are a must. You definitely want to learn these prayers. They're beautiful prayers. And then we're going to read what they say. And you will find that these prayers are the sweetest prayers you'll ever hear. So let's start. I will say the word and then you'll repeat it. Ishwara. Can you say Ishwara?
Do you want us to unmute ourselves?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Ishvara,
Ishvara,
Parama,
Parama,
Krishna,
Krishna,
Sachinanda,
Sachinanda,
Vigraha,
Vigraha,
Anadir,
Anadir,
Adir,
Adir,
Govinda,
Govinda,
Sarva,
Sarva,
Karana,
Karana,
Karanam.
Karanam,
Okay, I'm going to sing this so you get a feeling for it. Ishwara Parama Krishna, Sachidananda Vigraha, Anadir Adir Govinda, Sarva Karana Karanam. Translation: Krishna is the supreme God. He has an eternal, blissful, spiritual body. He is the origin of all. He has no other origin, and he is the prime cause of all causes. So that's extremely, just that translation is extremely powerful. So you definitely want to learn that that first verse. Text number 29. These are the most prominent of the verses. There's many more. There's a total of, I think, 56 verses, I think, in the 5th chapter. So these are the primary ones that you want to learn. Next one is text number 29. So repeat after me. Chintamani,
Chintamani,
Prakara,
Prakara,
Sadmasu,
Sadmatu,
Kalpavriksha,
Kalpavrikta,
Lakshavriteshu,
Lakshavrite Prabhu,
Surabir,
Surabir,
Abhipalyanantam,
Abhipalyanantam,
Lakshmi,
Lakshmi,
Sahasra,
Sahasra,
Tata,
Tata,
Sambrama,
Sambrahma,
Devyamanam,
Devyamanam,
Govindam,
Govindam,
Adipurusham,
Adipurusham,
Tamaham,
Tamaham,
Bhajami.
Vajami,
And this is what it sounds like. Chintani prakaradmatu kalpavriksha lakshavriteshu rabir abhipalyatam lakshahasra tatatam brahma sevyamanam govindamari purusham tamaham bhajami. Translation: I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the first progenitor who was tending the cows, yielding all desire in abodes built with spiritual gems, surrounded by millions of purpose trees, always served with great reverence and affection by hundreds of thousands of Lakshmis or gopis. This is an incredible verse. Let's go over this a little bit. Chintamani is touchstone. So Prabhupada explains that in the spiritual world, there are touchstones. Touchstones are not ordinary stones because they can yield all desire to, they're like gems. They can yield all desire. Meaning in Vrindavan, in the spiritual world, devotees have desire for Krishna. They want everything in relation to Krishna because Krishna is so phenomenal. So these touchstones fulfill the desires of the pure devotees. Now, who is Brahma worshiping? He's worshiping Govinda. Govinda is the primeval Lord. He is, the word Govinda means the master of, he who gives pleasure to the cows. Go means cows, and the senses. So he who gives pleasure to the cows and the senses, Govinda. So Govinda is the primeval Lord. So he's the first progenitor. Progenitor means from him, everything expands. So progenitor is like someone's giving birth to someone other child or some other family. Is who's the progenitor? Who's the first? Who's the male who's causing the family to expand? So in the same way, Krishna is causing everything to expand through expansion. So he's the first. The first means that there is nothing before him. No one caused him. He is the cause of all. So this is our Vaishnava philosophy. Our Vaishnava philosophy is Govinda, who is Krishna, is the first progenitor. And what is he doing? He is a cowherd boy because he's tending the cows. So Lord Brahma is seeing Krishna as Govinda. He's seeing him tending the cows and realizing that here is God, yielding all desire. So Krishna fulfills the desire of all. He is always giving blessing. He's always fulfilling the desires of his pure devotees. In abodes built with spiritual gems. I'm going to get back to the idea of fulfilling desire in a moment, because it's very important. In abodes built with spiritual gems. So in the spiritual world, there are gems everywhere. Gems are a sign of opulence, of beauty, of wealth. And on this planet, in the Satya Yuga and the Treta Yuga, because everyone was performing yajna and sacrifices, and there were Brahmins on the planet, the mountains had gems. There was in the rivers that had gems. So many gems. You could literally go to a mountain, to a river, and you could immediately have all kinds of gems that were precious stones. So this earth had so many precious stones, except when the Kali Yuga began, everything disappeared, dried up. It became finished. So prior to that, there were gems everywhere. Very, very beautiful earth, surrounded by millions of purpose trees. So these purpose trees are called kalpa vriksha. So these trees are also conscious in the spiritual world, and they want to please Krishna. So they're always doing something to please Krishna. So they hope Krishna will come by, their tree, the Krishna will walk by. They want to provide shade for the Lord. They want to provide beautiful fruits for the Lord. So they're called kalpa vriksha trees. And always served with great reverence and affection by hundreds of thousands of Lakshmis or gopis. So these Lakshmis or gopis are also known as milkmaids. These are gopis and Lakshmis. So Lakshmi is Lakshmi Narayan. So Lakshmis are ones that give wealth. Lakshmi gives wealth. We know what Lakshmi means. Lakshmi means wealth. So these gopis are giving wealth. They're filled with the wealth of bhakti and love for Krishna. So they're called gopis, Lakshmis, or milkmaids, because they like to tend. They carry the milk from the cows on their head. They're called milkmaids, and so there are many millions of these gopis, and they all have perfected bodies. Their bodies are very beautiful. They're very perfect. They're very gorgeous, and they love Krishna like anything. And the interesting thing is there's no envy in the spiritual world. So millions and millions of gopis, but no one has the envy. It's not like, oh, you're more beautiful than me, I'm envious of you. That's a big problem in the material world. Everyone is so envious of each other, but it's not like that in the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, Krishna is the center, and everyone is so happy just to be there, and does not make a difference whether one is a gopi or gopa, or an older gopi or younger gopi, or a cowherd boy, or even if one is a tree or an insect or a river. It really doesn't make a difference, Prabhupada explains, because everyone feels intense love of God according to their particular ras. So if one is a cowherd boy, he's not that he's desiring to be a gopi. The cowherd boys are feeling so much affection for Krishna as friend, that Krishna makes the cowherd boy feel that his friendship ras is the best ras. It's like the best ras. He doesn't desire the ras of Mother Yashoda. He doesn't desire to be the river like Jamuna. He doesn't desire to be a gopi. He's so happy being a cowherd boy. And similarly, if someone is a gopi, they're so happy that they have this beautiful figure that pleases Krishna. They just love that they have this feminine body that pleases the Lord, because they see the Lord as being masculine, as being strong, as being fantastic, as being the best of the best men. And so they are happy to have this body that attracts the Lord. And so every gopi has the most gorgeous body, absolutely beautiful body. And of course, there are levels of intimacy that the gopis have. So you have, here it says in the verse, hundreds of thousands of Lakshmis or gopis, and everyone's completely happy, whether they're just carrying milk on their head, whatever they're doing, they're just connected. Krishna does not make anyone feel like their service is less than anybody else's. It's just the way it's called achintya. It's inconceivable. But even though everyone has pure, perfect love for Krishna and vice versa, the Lord does have different levels of confidential servants. And so among the gopis, you have different camps. You have Radha's camp. You have I can't remember her name. What's Alexandra? What's the name of the other gopi?
Vishaka's camp?
No, not Vishaka's camp. I'll think of it. She's kind of, who?
Lalita.
Lalitas?
No, no,
Who?
no. The
Halita.
Not
opponent
Lalita.
of Radha. I forgot her name. I know what you are talking about.
Yeah,
The-
but she's in camp way. They're both gopis. Radha's on one side and she's on the other. So on Radha's side, there are gopis other than Radharani. They called Astasakis, and they're Lalita, Vishaka, Champakalata, these Sudevi, these different Tungabhadra. There's 8 chief gopis. And so they render the most confidential service along with Radharani to Krishna. And Krishna and Radharani is considered the greatest gopi because her beauty, her love for Krishna is what is called Mahabhav. Only she possesses this particular Mahabhav, which you must read about. And you're at some point in your bhakti, you need to read about this particular bhav that only Radharani has, which is incredible. And this is the bhav that Lord Chaitanya possessed, because he was trying to appreciate and taste this bhav. So it's the bhav of Radharani, which is called Mahabhav. Now, Radharani has some girlfriends called Manjaris. Only Radharani has Manjaris. Other gopis they have confidence. They're each other's friends. They have very close confidence. They're called Sakis, right? Sakis and gopis are kind of the same name. Sakis and gopis, different types of Sakis. And you can read I'm going to have to plug in my phone, and you're going to read in the books of Rupa Goswami, the different gopis and what they're like, and very, very beautiful. You can read the Nectar Devotion about this. So as you embark on your Krishna consciousness, the Nectar Devotion will go into great detail about the different Sakis and their different moods, and it goes into really fine detail about the specifics of their moods. These are called Sthai Bhavs. Now, Radharani has the most amazing mood, and she has these Manjaris who are her personal servants. And the greatest Manjari is, does anybody know? Okay. The
Rupa Manjari?
Yes. Manjari. We know him as Rupa Goswami, but in his spiritual body, he's Rupa Manjari. So Rupa Manjari is the number one Manjari for Radharani. He or she is the number one Manjari. And the Manjaris render great service to Radharani. I mean, combing her hair, taking care of her in a very personal way. I won't go too much detail. I think this is kind of advanced, but I will just say that the Manjaris have a relationship with Radharani. Their goal is to always see Radha with Krishna. That's their goal. And so they take care of Radha like a girlfriend would take care of their best friend. Like, what do they call it? BFF or something? Okay. So these are BFFs, and they take care of Radharani. So they're always looking after her and her feelings and her mood, right? But they always want to see Radha and Krishna together, because when Radha and Krishna are together, the ecstasy and love that Radha feels for Krishna and Krishna feels for Radha is felt by the Manjaris, and no other gopi feels the depth of Radha's love like the Manjaris. In other words, when Radha is expressing her love for Krishna in whatever way, and she's feeling bhav, that same bhav erupts on the body of the Manjaris. Okay, that's called vicarious in our English language. Vicarious. Vicarious is a word that's my favorite word for some reason. I don't know why. When I was a school kid, this was my favorite word, and now I understand that Krishna wanted me to learn this word because it has spiritual implications. But when I was a kid, I learned this word called vicarious. So vicarious means, let's say you're in a movie theater and you're watching a movie, and then you have this really beautiful romantic scene as an example between the hero and the heroine, right? How do you feel? You are feeling the heroine's feeling or the hero's feeling. It's called vicarious. As they feel, you're feeling. Okay? So in the same way, the Manjaris, they really don't have a direct relationship with Krishna purposely, because they have, even though their relationship is indirect because their primary focus is Radharani, they are experiencing the love of Radha for Krishna more deeply than anyone else. So I won't speak more about that right this minute, because that's a whole nother discussion. And Lord Chaitanya speaks about this in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So it is very important discussion, but it is a little advanced, and I just wanted to give you guys a taste for what's going on here. So
Vicarious, I'm sorry, vicarious can be used only in positive way. If it's like sympathy pain, will that be vicarious as well? Or it's only
Yeah.
positive?
Yeah,
Mhm.
it could be also like that in a painful way, yes. Because many times in the spiritual world, especially, Radharani, she's feeling this what's called sambhog and vipralamba. So there's two moods. There's two moods that Radharani is always experiencing. It's called, and actually all the gopis go through this as well, but Radharani especially, it's called sambhog and vipralamba. So sambhog means meeting with Krishna. So everyone wants to meet with Krishna. All the devotees want to meet with Krishna. Yashoda Mai, she's always desiring, where's Krishna? She can't wait for Krishna to come back from the fields and being with the cows. She wants to take care of him, bathe him, give him something to eat. So that separation is called vipralamba. And during the time of separation, the devotee's love grows. It gets very intense. Where's Krishna? Where's Krishna? But then there's meeting. That meeting is called sambhog. So meeting and separation. It's like a wave, the waves, right? So Rupa Goswami describes them as waves. Sometimes the waves bring us high because we're feeling something from Krishna, and then they crash on us. So this is ecstasy, and these are the ecstasies that one feels in his heart from meeting and separation from the Lord. Does everyone understand that, what we said? Yeah. So if you will repeat these Govindam prayers, and next time, I hope we will continue with these meetings, but next time we're going to discuss and go over some of the songs of Bhakti Vinod. Now, these songs of Bhakti Vinod are extremely relishable. They're chanted, probably not enough. We should be chanting them more often, and I want to introduce you to them, because these prayers are incredible prayers, and they will become also part of your itinerary, if you will, or your repertoire of tools in Krishna consciousness. So I'm going to pause here. We've got a little bit of time for questions and answers. I know Alexandra really wants to ask a question because I know her. So let's start with Alexandra. What question do you have or comment today, Alexandra?
Thank you, Mahashakti, for such a beautiful dive into the first couple verses. It was really nice. I really enjoyed it. My question is, can you go a little bit more? We touched on it, and you explained on the last part of the verse 29, where it talks about by hundreds of thousands of Lakshmis and Gopis. So I just wanted to clarify more in depth the difference between Lakshmis and Gopis, unless they're totally the same. Like you have Narayana and Lakshmi, right? They're like the consort in this one form, and then you have Gopis, which is a totally different state of being. So how is Lakshmis and Gopis can be compared on the same level?
Yeah, there's really no difference. The Lakshmis that are being described here by Lord Brahma are called goddesses of fortune, but the goddesses of fortune are really the gopis here in Vrindavan. The goddesses of fortune, the Lakshmis in Vrindavan, are the original form of the Lakshmi, of the goddesses of fortune, and the goddess of fortune in Vaikuntha and other locations are really expansions of, or they're gopis, but in a more formal sense. Like you have Lakshmi's probably in, I think in Dwarka, Mathura, you have Lakshmi herself in Vaikuntha, but they're more awe and reverence. Okay.
So it would be like you'd offer different prayers to Lakshmi as you would to different prayers to gopis, just because they're in different moods.
That's a really good question, actually, and it's really advanced. It's a really good question. Generally, on our level, we chant Hare Krishna and we worship Radha as the primary gopi. We don't really have. I mean, you could read some of the plays by Rupa Goswami, which do talk about Lalita Vishaka and some of the other gopis, many of the other gopis. You can read his plays, but. And I'll tell you something interesting. Lord Chaitanya, he did chant the names of the gopis. And so in a very advanced state, you could chant the names of the gopis. But generally speaking, we don't do that at our level. It's sufficient to chant Hare Krishna. I'm not sure I'm answering your question.
That was helpful. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tatiana or Natalia?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes.
Why I don't hear among those Ras, we know the Ras of gopis, Ras of cowboys, Ras of being as a parent to Krishna, but why there is no Ras as a Krishna to be a parent when you consider Krishna as the father?
Oh. Okay. Well, the simple answer is Krishna never grows older than looking like a boy of 16.
Right, but he's still a man at some point, right? He looks like you said, he looks like very masculine, grown-up man, and all the gopis are like these beautiful women. They're not kids, so why?
Yeah, in Vrindavan, there he has relationships with the gopis and everything, but there's no children per se. So there's no fathership in Vrindavan like that. But in Dwarka there is. And in Mathura, in Dwarka, there are 16,108 palaces. In each palace, he expands himself, for to be a king or a husband for each queen. So he has 100 children with each queen, and he has a household. He's what is called a henpecked husband. He has family life in Dwarka,
but
not in Vrindavan. Yeah.
So not in the spiritual world, pretty much.
No, Dwarka is the spiritual world. The Goloka is divided into Vrindavan, Dwarka, and Mathura. 3 different sections.
Okay, I see.
Yeah. So Dwarka is the fort. That's where Krishna, he has processions with his armies and phalanxes, and he has he's a king, like he's the ruler in Dwarka, but not in Vrindavan. Vrindavan, he plays like a boy. He's very, very very simple like that. It's a different mood. So each different section is a different mood. The Vrindavan mood is the most intimate mood. Okay. That you can have. That's our destination, is Vrindavan in the spiritual world. He's a little different. In each section, Krishna's a little different. And if you go outside of Goloka, then you go into Vaikuntha, and there you have a whole different mood. He's no longer 2 arms. He has 4 arms.
So he becomes Vishnu?
Narayan. Vishnu is only in the material world. Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. Then in the spiritual, he can become 4 arms as well, and he will be Narayana.
Yeah, actually Vishnu has 4 arms too.
Yeah.
But the Vishnu, Vishnu is Mahavishnu, the Garbhodak and the Kshirodak Vishnu. They do not exist in the spiritual world.
Right.
They are spiritual, but only for the material creation. Narayan is the presiding deity of each Vaikuntha planet. 4 arms. And in each arm, he has what? He has a lotus, a Sudarshan chakra, a club, and a kancha. And the name of Narayan, they have many, many, many names. According to the what's the word I'm looking for, Alexandra? According to the way he's holding the different 4 items, his name, like Janardhan, he has the lotus in this hand and then this. So each time it's different and he has a different name.
Gotcha. Okay.
That is Narayan. And his eternal consort is Lakshmi.
Right. Good. Thank you.
Yeah. One time Radha was with Krishna and she was feeling very proud because, I mean, that happens. She was feeling so proud of being with Krishna, and Krishna wanted to kind of cut her pride because she's feeling proud. And, you know, the top gopi. So he wanted to cut her little pride a little bit. So he disappeared from her. And she became very, very, I mean, oh my God, what did I do? What did I do? What did I do? And she immediately started looking for Krishna everywhere. So Krishna then became Narayan. And so Radha, as soon as she saw Narayan, she offered her respects. She said many beautiful prayers. But then she said, have you seen Krishna? I'm looking for Krishna. And so Narayan turned into Krishna for her. Meaning that many people, many devotees will be happy with Narayan. I mean, he's Krishna. He's so beautiful. He's incredibly beautiful. All the different residents of Vaikuntha worship Narayan. But the gopis are so in love with Krishna with 2 arms, they were not interested in Narayan. So, interesting, right? And one time, Lakshmi, when she heard the glories of the gopis and how much they had love for Krishna, that she wanted to taste that love, that bhav, which she didn't have with Narayan, her own husband. So she prayed to become a gopi. She wanted to be a gopi. But Krishna would not let her. Yeah, you have to stay with your husband. You can't like that. You cannot just become a gopi. So what we are doing in our effort right now, in our bhakti, not even Lakshmi could attain. She could not attain. This is so high, you have no idea. This is like a sliver, like a door has just opened up, like a jar, just a little bit, like this. Because no one in any other yuga is doing the bhakti that we're doing. This entrance into Goloka, not just into Goloka, but into the mood of the Saki, like a gopi, never seen before. Never. This is very, very rare. Very rare. The name Radha only appears in all the Vedas twice. Only twice. So it's not like Radha's everywhere and everyone knows. It's so confidential. So sometimes people don't understand what we're doing. Even among Vaishnava, like outside of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, you have the ones who worship Lakshmi Narayan. They don't understand what we're doing. Many people think that Krishna is coming from Narayan, as an expansion of Narayan, and that Narayan is superior to Krishna. They think this way. But actually, that's not the case. So what we're doing is of the utmost confidentiality. And the only way that you can understand what we're doing is by one concentration, one focus on Radha and Krishna. Or actually Krishna, because Krishna, from devotion to Krishna, you get Radha. So it's one focus. We don't focus on any other deity. So this is called Ananya Bhak, exclusive devotion to Krishna. That's why we do what we do. We want to attain this mood that Krishna has in Vrindavan. This is the mood that we're looking for from the mantra. This is the ecstasy, the type of mood that we want. This kind of love. And so Krishna, as we learned from Lord Brahma, he is in the business of benedicting his devotees, right? If you are worshiping Narayan, he will benedict you with a spiritual body with 4 arms, and you will go to Vaikuntha. He will give you that benediction. And if you worship Krishna in Dwarka, then he will give you 4 arms, and you will live in Dwarka, like Uddhava. You can look just like Krishna. Pradyumna and Uddhava in Dwarka look just like Krishna. Beautiful bodies, beautiful, beautiful bodies. But if you worship Krishna in Vrindavan, like the Goswamis, then you will get the body of a Saki or a Saka, and you will take birth in that Leela next life, in the womb of a Gopi, in that Leela. And you will attain the frame, the love that the devotees have for Krishna in Vrindavan. Do you understand? Is that not amazing?
That's definitely very tempting.
We know exactly what we're doing, where we're going, what to expect. Everything is known by us because we read, we study, we're practicing. This is not vague. We don't have a vague idea. We know exactly what we're doing, where we're going. Really beautiful. Anyhow, I think it's over. I think the time is up, Natanya. Tatanya. Sorry.
I will have in 2 minutes session, so I will leave. I had so much fun. Thank you very much. I just have a private patient coming, so
Okay.
I apologize. That was great. I remember the name of the Gopi's opponent, Chandavati, Chandravanti, something like that. Chandravali. And I also remembered how Krishna in Dwaraka one day, palace habitants found him crying in his blankets, crawling in bed, and nobody couldn't, like everybody came, what's up, what to do, and he was remembering Vrindavan, and they couldn't cure him whatsoever. It was a big deal, like the whole palace came, all thousands of people, and they didn't know what to do with him. And then they decided, Balaram, I think, and Devaki, somebody from close family members, they decided to build Vrindavan on a seashore, to build murtis of Yashoda, of all the gopis, of everybody. And it was so real that at the very beginning Krishna believed, and then when he was walking through this park, all of a sudden he seen the shore, the ocean, and he said, "What's up? What is the correlation between ocean and Vrindavan?" And then he figured, and Balarama told him, "Yeah, we such and such did."
Nice.
I have a friend that already here. I need to leave. I'm sorry. I had so much fun today. Thank you very much. Humble obeisances to all of you.
Haribol.
Hare Krishna.
Actually, that pastime is also Lord Chaitanya's pastime. If you read, it's the same pastime where Lord Chaitanya is thinking that this is Vrindavan when it was actually Puri, I think. He thought it was Vrindavan. Nor Nityananda told him it was Vrindavan, and it wasn't, but he thought it was. Interesting. Okay, Prabhu's beautiful. This is such a beautiful thing we're doing. Really something. We're very fortunate.
What do we have for next week? Are we continuing with the Govindam prayers?
Oh, well, we'll come back because I know you're interested, so we'll come back to that a little bit. But we're going to read some of the prayers and songs of Bhakti Vinod.
Okay.
Okay.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.